Colonel Bob McGinnis is the author of the new book, Progressive Evil. And Bob, we maybe shorted you a little on time here because this is such as Tom mentioned, a timely topic. But in the book, you make the case that progressivism is a classic religion.
Well, it is. God is big government to them, and of course, politics is their religion. Their sacred text is the Communist Manifesto. Their clergy are the liberal university professors and the cabal in California, Hollywood. Heaven, of course, is the perfection of man, artificial intelligence, which I've written about and you're very familiar with. Their doctrine, same-sex marriage, certainly abortion on demand, only the fittest should give birth, which of course is classic eugenist. Drug-free society, euthanasia, you could argue others, globalism, and of course no borders. Salvation, of course, is embracing all of progressivism. And like Islam, if you don't accept this totally, you're an infidel, should be killed. So progressives do have, I would argue, a religion, and that is motivating them.
It's interesting in that they would deny that because they say we don't believe in God or a God that would tell us to do these things that are in the Bible. And yet their policies are so anti-Christian when you compare those against what God revealed to Moses, to the prophets, to the apostles. When you look at Hollywood and the dominant culture here in the United States, it's considered par for the course, where Christian speakers are banned from speaking at a college campus, for example, for just making the statement, a man cannot be a woman. For some, in this new progressive religion, that's considered radical thought, extreme.
Well, it is, but they've always been extreme. And if you go back in history, we, the United States, have tolerated the idea that, and of a lot of progressives, for instance, after the proclamation of emancipation that President Lincoln did for the African American slaves. Then you had progressives that instituted Jim Crow laws. You had progressives that, of course, worked on eugenics and forced sterilization and abortion on demand. You had progressives that stopped the migration of Jews facing concentration and gas chambers during the FDR, who was a big progressive. You had the promotion of homosexuality in our culture, progressives. You have the feminist revolution to disassemble the family. This is progressives. You had, of course, the advancement of socialism as an economic and a political ideology. You have a monstrous federal government, which is, of course, the god of progressivism. You have a mountain of regulation, which is the god of government. The list keeps going on and on. They have a litany, a history of remaking America, very different than our founders had.
I think you've just caused me to realize something here. What you're describing as the goals and the means that progressives use to achieve their ends, very similar to the means and the ends of Islam.
Very much so. It's a radical ideology that has no tolerance for anything but what they believe. And if you subscribe to it, then you have to abide by its rules. And for those of us that are outside of that world, we have to resist it. And unfortunately, if we don't resist it, then we lose our country.
I want to say something to you as I'm sitting here listening to you. People that have watched, is it Dinesh, what's his name?
Dinesh D'Souza.
His brilliant film that came out last year, where he's actually showing that it was the progressives that actually created and then fought to maintain the slavery systems keeping people on the farms, being indebted to the owners and all the rest of it. And it was actually what today we might call conservative Republicans that fought for the freedom of those peoples. Today, socialism to me is it's the same end result, using maybe a more modern kind of terminology, but the idea is you want to bring people into slavery to the state.
Right.
Socialism makes everybody a slave of the state. It's why, by the way, I've always believed that a kind of Marxist socialist system is what is going to give rise to Antichrist. It's the type of government, global socialism, right, which would bring everybody into a kind of slavery. Very quickly, because we're going to run out of time, Biden recently said that we are in a war for the soul of the nation. Do you think that do we need to be concerned about 2020? Is there any chance that the socialists are actually going to take over and start, affecting our government towards these goals?
Had Hillary Clinton won in 2016, I would say the nation would have been toast. If someone, a socialist, a progressive, wins in 2020, the good that Mr. Trump has been able to accomplish in beginning to disassemble the deep state, that will be overcome, because the residue of the Obama era is still in the government, and that has to be completely exercised out. And if it's not, and we don't continue what we're doing, we will lose our country. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So the predictions in all three of your books really tell us that there is a spirit that is at work right now, that is ushering in literally a cascade of end-time events that are ultimately going to be part of the rise of Antichrist.
Absolutely. The books from Defender Publishing are Progressive Evil by Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis, Gods of the Final Kingdom by Pastor Carl Gallups, and my new book, Bad Moon Rising, Islam, Armageddon, and the Most Diabolical Double Cross in History. And give thanks to Tom Horn for being courageous enough to publish these books, because most Christian publishers wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. We thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV.